Now, I'm very much aware of the fact that this is a very important analysis, because it is important, especially for those Kenyans outside the country in the diaspora, to completely and totally understand what is going down in Mother Kenya. And there are a lot of conflicting reports. We have various media with various interests. And therefore, what people normally want is the truth and nothing but the truth. Now, I've sat down and thought about this, and I've come to the conclusion that the best way of doing this is to start with a UDA viewpoint, very shallow, usually very shallow, short-sighted UDA viewpoint, and then I will give you the real picture. That way, you will not be able to fall for the propaganda that is going to be flying at you, has already started flying at you actually, from all over the place. So please bear with me as I start from the UDA viewpoint. Don't come into my show today and say, Allah, Chris, what has happened to Chris? Has he received a fat check from somebody? No, just bear with me. Let's do this step by step so that we totally understand. Especially because where we're going from here, I don't know what to say, is deadly. So let us understand so that we're prepared. So here goes. The anticipated and much hyped mother of all demonstrations did not actually take off, because the police, security forces, managed to keep away supporters of Azimio from the CBD. So nothing happened because nothing happened in the CBD. Okay? Unless something happens in the CBD, nothing has happened. All that happened was the inconvenience that businesses went through. Being forced not to open, and those who opened, no customers. End of story. That would be the UDA version. Now, reality check. The second day of Azimio demonstrations and protests kept people at home and away from work. So that was a day when there was little or no production in the country called Kenya. Even people like Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua have given us a cost of businesses remaining closed for just one day in Nairobi, the capital, and indeed the heart, the boiler room, the brains of the nation called Kenya. And so if somebody is counting the inconvenience, you need to start with the empty streets of Nairobi CBD. However, it is not true that demonstrators did not make it into the CBD. They did, not in as large numbers as would like the optics to show, but they did. And again they were peaceful, and again the police treated them as violent rioters, which, as we all know, changes the scenario completely into something else: chaos. And here I'd like to talk about a brand new introduction by those who are fighting the protests, and that is targeting people who want to record and capture what is happening. And I'm talking about journalists and generally anybody trying to capture what is happening with a camera or a phone. That was a new target. The objective, of course, should be obvious. Optics are very, very important with this government. And the whole idea is to give the impression that nothing happened, even when things happened. There are reports of various journalists being attacked, some being arrested, others being harassed, etc., etc. It can't be a coincidence. Obviously, the strategy was to target those capturing what is happening, because it seems to be very important, for obvious reasons, that the true picture does not come out. I'll give just one example. There were very serious confrontations in the Kawangware area. Kawangware is in the outskirts of Nairobi, a little past Dagoretti Corner, for those who know Nairobi. Kawangware is viewed as a slum area, okay? But you'll notice there are very few pictures which came out of Kawangware, and even the ones that did not really portray just how serious things were. Of course, there was the image of a burnt police vehicle. Yeah, that one got out. That one was captured. But then it begs the question, who was responsible? Because we have seen right from the start that Azimio protesters are peaceful. And there's been a lot of emphasis from the leaders, the people who have caused these people to come out and protest, people like Raila Odinga. There's been a lot of emphasis on peaceful demonstrations. And I think many Kenyans have seen, have recognized, have understood the reason why they must be peaceful. And when they cease to be peaceful, they become something else, which does not help the cause. There are various places where protesters who are opposed to Azimio and their cause got into the picture. The result was chaos, yeah, and damage of property by the so-called peaceful demonstrators demonstrating for peace against the Azimio protests. And it got pretty ugly in Kisumu, where at least one life was lost. And as usual, you've guessed it, kutoka risasi ya askari from the police. And so, because what we're doing here is analyzing it, not reporting, and so we can see a clear picture emerging of the strategy of the government to oppose these protests. Yeah, it is to get rival protesters to come in and really create chaos. But there's another even more worrying trend that has emerged, which one analyst, very experienced, I spoke to, referred to as a game changer. And this is the invasion of private land belonging to former President Uhuru Kenyatta and his family. Yeah, in Ruai, people just came in, started allocating themselves pieces of land, they cut trees, and they even took away livestock, sheep mostly, yeah, which of course does not belong to them. And then there's another group which attacked the offices of Raila Odinga's gas company, yeah, manufacturers of gas cylinders, East African Spectra, yeah, and caused quite a lot of damage. Now, we've been repeatedly told by the UDA leaders that the two individuals financing the protests are former President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. And so those attacks neatly fall into place when you consider that narrative that we've had for a long time. It's nothing new to Kenyans. Now, this is where we all need to get very, very worried. And those who pray need to pray without ceasing. Because what has happened here is that, in my view, I agree with the other analyst, this latest development of invading private land and people's companies is a game changer. There's no other way of describing it. You see, it points us very clearly to where the government wants this to go. Yeah? Let me illustrate it with what happens in a soccer game. You're playing some opponents who are very good. They're very good at short passes. Carpet football, we used to call it in those days. I don't know what they call it nowadays. But short, neat passes. And they're very effective. Okay? So, you come up with a counter strategy of changing the game. Yeah? Because you can't beat them at their game. You need to change the game to your game. The strategy of changing the game, I'm really trying to simplify it, has also been carried out in businesses. Let me give you a quick example. And to avoid any controversies with businesses operating today, let me give an example from a few decades back. Farmer's Choice wanted to sell sausages. And at that time, in the 80s, when they wanted to get aggressively into this market, the market was dominated by foreign players and a parastatal called Uplands, which sold the sausages upmarket. Big hotels, big restaurants, etc., etc. The rich and famous, and so on. So Farmer's Choice decided to change the game. And they decided to change the game and go for the untapped retail market. And therefore they started a promotion, a very famous promotion at the time, called Bwana Sausage. The man, of course, was anonymous, but if he overheard you at any chips joint asking for Farmer's Choice sausages, they would reward you on the spot with a cash gift, 1,000 shillings at that time. It was a lot of money then, because it was enough to go for a serious night out. And then they also introduced the sausage vendors, the people who actually hawk cooked sausages, sell them around as snacks, and the game changed completely. And of course we know today that company dominates the sausage business. The reason why I've taken my time to give you farm examples is that it is very easy in a situation like this to write off the other side. They're not thinkers, they're not thinking, they don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing in changing the game. If I can give you a hint of what is happening here, is that we're now going to see very clearly the hustlers versus the dynasties, manenos, that you dear were talking so much about during the campaigns. And this will change the game. And the target, of course, is old money. Bottom line, a can of worms has been opened that, if allowed to continue being opened, will be very difficult to close. Now, this is a very sensitive issue. I'm so sorry that I cannot say more on this forum. Trust me, it's super sensitive. But I'm sure many of you, most of you, have been able to put 2 and 2 together and come up with the answer 4. You understand what I'm talking about? Because today, it is the Kenyatta family farms being taken over, in the way we saw today. Tomorrow, we don't know who will be next. I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say. And also this attacking of companies owned by people supporting Azimio and the Azimio cause is along the same general line. Hustlers versus dynasty. Now let's make a distinction here between old money and new money. May I dare say old corruption money and new corruption money. Things will be done in such a way that the target will be old corruption money. This is really what it is. Now I go into much more detail in the latest weekly intelligence briefings number 103. So that if you've not totally understood what I'm driving at, I say it there very clearly in black and white. Now don't worry, there was a delay in the release of WIB number 102. So now I'm going to release both 102 and 103 together in the next few hours. Then you'll be able to get all this information. I'd earlier predicted that where we're going, there'll be a lot of information I cannot carry on the public channel, and this is an excellent example. And there's a lot more to come because of the trajectory this has taken. Yeah, so please take advantage of our special offer. I've extended it until I release this too. Let's say by noon tomorrow, this special offer will have ended. I believe you can see details on your screens right now. Take full advantage of it before it ends. Yeah, so that you're able to get all this valuable information and the more valuable information on the way. Yeah, because siasa yetu imeharibika. Kenya tumefika pabaya, tena pabaya. Not good for Kenya, not good at all. In fact, we have gone on a road that is scary. Yeah, and it is a road we don't know the end of that road where it is. But you can be sure of one thing, it will not end well. So those who pray for the country, those who love motherland Kenya, need to pray. And you need to be very wary of the days to come. God Almighty help Kenya. Until next time, this is Chris. Kumekucha.